Peter Martin Audio Division presents Cinematic Audio.
Young Onset, a P.J. Mundy story.
Prologue. As the sun dipped low on the horizon, casting a golden hue over the half-filled stadium, the preliminary round of the European Championships, anticipation crackled in the air like static electricity. In the heart of the arena, amidst a throng of eager spectators and the rhythmic pulse of excitement, Kia and Josephine stood side by side, their figures silhouetted against the backdrop of the track. Kia's determination was palpable, her gaze fixed on the finish line with unwavering focus. Beside her, Josephine exuded a quiet confidence, her movements infused with the grace of a seasoned athlete. The artistically carved definition into her abs, calves, and thighs, wrapped in milky brown skin, was a sight to behold. With each stretch and stride, they prepared for the challenge that lay ahead, their movements fluid and purposeful, warming up. Anticipation and pride reigned torrentially as the stage was set. Josephine sported a t-shirt with the defiant proclamation, "Born to Win," bearing the singular declaration on her back, "There is only one Josephine Kender." Her sprinting spikes were inscribed with "The Chosen." Kia ran to the crowd, accompanied by her young daughter, grandmother, and mother, engaging in prayer. Josephine, observing, concealed a giggle to herself, remembering the previous evening. Within the quiet recesses of the night, wandering aimlessly in the halls of the dorm, with a warm cup of mint tea in hand, music caught Josephine's attention. Her comrades indulged in a myriad of illegal vices and worldly distractions. Josephine acknowledged an inebriated Kia, cheesing ear to ear. She understands Kia embodied a tapestry of roles: saint, sinner, mother, daughter, athlete, and maven of empathy, the multifaceted nature of the human experience. Though, deep down, she was disappointed in her, knowing all impostors have the same syndrome, she deserves all her shortcomings. Subsequently, Josephine chose a different path, deciding to retreat into solitude, knowing in contrast her own identity was synonymous with an unwavering, uncompromising resolve and discipline. Neither saint nor sinner, daughter nor sister, friend nor foe, just a winner. She's brought back to the task at hand, the fever pitch, her and the finish line. Josephine's approached with her phone buzzing incessantly, missed calls from family members and friends clamoring for her attention. Even as her father called again, she had more important things going on right now, waving away the coaching staff. As the moment of truth drew near, they took their positions at the starting line, poised like coiled springs ready to be released. A silent Kia kissed her cross necklace, a ritual of faith. Josephine, ever the astute observer, cast a curious gaze, a subtle dance of spirituality in the crucible of competition. Josephine's once steady hand began shaking uncontrollably, capturing her utmost attention. More tremors. The starter's pistol shattered the silence, and they exploded into motion, limbs pumping in perfect synchrony. In the blur of speed and determination, Josephine surged ahead, her strides powerful and assured, with each thunderous footfall a testament to her undeniable prowess. As they rounded the final bend, victory hung in the balance, but it was Josephine who crossed the finish line first, her triumph echoing through the stadium like a thunderclap. In that fleeting moment of victory, amidst the cheers and applause, Josephine stood embodying an indomitable spirit of the prize athlete, her gaze fixed on the horizon as she awaited the next challenge that awaited her on the road to glory. As dawn broke the night, in the cauldron of training, blood, sweat, and tears permeated the air. Josephine and Kia engaged in a relentless dance of skill and determination. Laughter punctuated their exercises, yet a staunch rivalry simmered beneath the light jibes, a beating pulse of ambition and aspiration. Each sprint, Josephine came up triumphant. Coach pulled her aside, informing and assuring her she was heading for gold at the European Championships. She was elated, on her tiptoes, jumping up and down. On the next go-round, before the group took off, Josephine found herself immobilized, her movements sluggish, as if shackled by invisible chains. Josephine's body betrayed her, each movement an uphill battle, a torturous crawl against the weight of her own limbs. Panic clawed at her throat, threatening to suffocate. Her hands trembled with vigor. With a sense of urgency, the coaches and a frantic Kia rushed to her aid, attempting to alleviate her distress. They offered reassurance, asserting that Josephine merely required extended rest. Yet beneath their words lay a shared uncertainty, offering little solace, their words hollow. Tremors reverberated her silent struggle. Her eyes met with Kia's unspoken concern. For they knew that this was more than just fatigue, more than just a momentary setback. A stage once set for triumph, fate cast its unpredictable hand. As her muscles relaxed and the shaking subdued, she felt besieged by inner turmoil, a rage unseen beneath the veneer of stoicism. Struggling to her feet, they tried to assist where possible. Josephine's balance faltered, her movements erratic. Suddenly, an eruption, a primal scream, behavior bordering on madness. In the gymnasium's hallowed confines, chaos ensued, hurling steps at Kia with all her might. As the coach apprehended, intent on calming the chaos. With a swift strike, she rendered him unconscious with a dumbbell, the clang echoing through the gym. Horrified gasps filled the air. Josephine's rampage continued. Dumbbells became projectiles, and coaches became unwitting adversaries. Blood stained the pristine floors as teeth were sent flying. Her vision blurred, but amidst the desperation, Josephine caught a glimpse of her own reflection, a face contorted in agony, twitching to a beat of its own drum. The other coaches took this moment to wrestle her to the ground, Josephine's cries piercing the air, a symphony of despair and anguish, her pleas fading into the distant expanse surrounding the training camp. In the aftermath, headlines once heralding her ascent to glory now bore witness to her descent into darkness. A star fallen from grace, a casualty of the relentless pursuit of perfection in an imperfect world. Chapter 1. In the dimly lit confines of her room, Josephine sits ensconced within a cocoon of solitude. The air hangs heavy with a palpable sense of isolation, the silence broken only by the occasional sigh that escapes her lips. A veil of melancholy shrouds her thoughts, the world beyond her window seeming distant and unattainable, a realm of vibrant colours and fleeting joys that remain forever out of reach. Her phone lies abandoned on the bedside table, a silent sentinel bearing witness to the emptiness that pervades her existence. With trembling hands, she reaches for it, the weight of each passing moment pressing down upon her. A notification blinks insistently on the screen, a solitary beacon in the vast expanse of her solitude. With a heavy heart, she taps the icon, unleashing a torrent of digital voices into the void. Amidst the cacophony of messages, one stands out, its presence a fragile thread connecting her to the outside world. As she presses play, a voice note from a distant figure whose voice echoes with the faint whisper of familiarity. The air seems to grow heavy with anticipation, each word a sharp reminder of the chasm that separates her from the world outside.
Josie, it's Papa. I know you're going through a tough time, but can I slice a piece of mind? Lend you food for thought? A dish of information serves cold for your demons. Yes, your sweet dreams have turned diabetic. I won't sugarcoat it. Guilty and misguided with faulty logic, I can feel your bad energy. Delusional activity at perspective prognosis is self-destructive. I won't sugarcoat it. I understand it. Feeling disgrace, the sky is falling. Look to the sky when you fall short of his grace. A taste of defiance won't win this race. Don't get your wires crossed. This ain't a loss. Listen to Christ's quiet voice. Swallow your pride and regurgitate the price. It's the loss of success, the candy floss. Slim pickings for most of us, the majority. If we're lucky, are left with the short end of it. A lot of stick. I won't sugarcoat it. I know you're formidable, filled to the brim with indelible strength, unquantifiable qualities that seem credible in every department at every angle. The vital intangibles. Though your physical skills are no longer valuable. You're too small. Be big enough to become humble. Be stronger than you were. Become vulnerable. Become who you're meant to be. Become free. Bestow yourself into slavery, a vessel unto thee. I'm your father. I won't sugarcoat it. Lastly, baby, the desert of the mind spreads far and wide. Still you're chained to the perfect world. You're so free that you're lost. Can't you see? You're robbing your future blind. Use the neocortex. Independence is an illusion. No one truly is. Dependence on ignorance writes curses in cursive on the stars above. You will find between your eyes what's right in front of you. The toxins in bottle-fed adults. I love you, and I hope to see you.
With frustration boiling over, Josephine abruptly pauses the voice note, her anger evident in the forceful tap of her finger on the screen. With a sharp exhale, she flings her phone across the room, watching it skid across the floor with a mix of resentment and satisfaction. Feeling the weight of her emotions bearing down on her, she instinctively reaches for the quilt, yanking it from the bed and pulling it over her head in a swift, angry motion. Wrapped in its comforting embrace, she lets out a muffled scream of frustration, the sound muffled by the fabric cocoon surrounding her. In the darkness beneath the quilt, she allows herself a moment of respite from the outside world, her thoughts swirling with a tumultuous mix of anger, resentment, and disappointment. Chapter 2. As Josephine sits in her partner's car, bathed in the soft glow of the fading sunlight, there is a sense of quiet solitude that surrounds her, a palpable aura of isolation amidst the chaos of the world outside. And yet, beneath the surface, there is a fire burning within her, a fierce determination to defy the odds and reclaim her place among the stars. She occupies the driver's seat, her posture erect, exuding an air of quiet elegance despite the turmoil swirling within. Her features are sharp, chiseled by determination and the relentless pursuit of excellence. Dark locks cascade in waves around her face, framing piercing eyes that betray a hint of vulnerability beneath their steely exterior. Dressed impeccably in tailored attire, every detail of her outfit speaks to her meticulous attention to appearance. A crisp blouse clings to her slender frame, accentuating the curve of her waist, while sleek trousers elongate her legs. A single piece of delicate jewelry adorns her wrist, a subtle nod to the status she commands. The commentary of the European Championships cut through the air, branding Josephine with accusations of wasted talent and temper tantrums. As she gazes out at the scene before her, a young family playing, laughter mingles with the distant echoes of her own dreams. The mother's laughter dances on the breeze, a melody of innocence lost to Josephine's ears. With each joyful squeal of the child, she feels the weight of her mortality pressing down upon her, a reminder of the fleeting nature of success and the inevitability of failure. In the distance, her partner Enrique, his laughter intertwines with that of another woman. Josephine sharply turns her attention to the wind mirror. The woman's athletic figure and radiant smile, a stark contrast to Josephine's solitude. As they banter and unload the groceries, their gestures speak volumes, the life she once imagined for herself. The woman's casual and slightly dismissive greeting paints a picture of Josephine's potential own insignificance in the grand scheme of things. In that moment, the tension is a silent phantom haunting Josephine's every thought. Simultaneously, the European Championships commentary drones on about the weight of expectation on Kia Jones to take the mantle left behind by Josephine Kender as the favourite representative of the GB team in the women's 200 metres, as she lines up amongst her competitors. Enrique's gratitude for the assistance only serves to highlight Josephine's shortcomings and exacerbates inner turmoil. She watches, envy simmering beneath the surface as the woman effortlessly lifts her son. Kia Jones's name bursts through the speakers. A triumph! Josephine grips her walking stick tightly. In their sleek German coupe driving down a lively street, Enrique serenades the car along with the singer of his favorite band. The music blasts through the speakers, and he beats the steering wheel as if he is the second drummer they left behind. Josephine's gaze fixates on the passing scenery beyond the window, ignoring all attempts made to offer engagement. As he attempts to park, her hand erupts with tremors. Enrique's grappling with the car's controls, frustration evident in his movements as he struggles to reverse. The knob receives a series of aggressive taps and random button presses until the car abruptly shuts off. In the midst of traffic chaos, Josephine's voice cuts through the tension, sharp and demanding. "What's going on?" she demands, her tone laced with frustration. Enrique's distant voice responds, filled with a hint of exasperation. "The car won't reverse," he explains, his words tinged with annoyance. Confusion clouds Josephine's features as she tries to make sense of the situation. "Well, it's off," she retorts, her voice tinged with irritation. But Enrique's response only adds to her bewilderment. "Yes, but I didn't turn it off," he explains cryptically, leaving Josephine grasping for understanding. Enrique's response is evasive. "You know," he replies vaguely, prompting Josephine to demand clarification. "I know what?" she fires back, her frustration mounting with each passing moment. As traffic begins to pile up and horns blare impatiently, offended by the implication that their malfunctioning car is somehow acceptable, Josephine's agitation grows, her rapid-fire questions highlighting her frustration. "What does that mean?" she demands, her voice rising in indignation. Enrique remains unperturbed, restarting the car with a nonchalant shrug. "It means, 1, I haven't parked properly, and 2, we can't leave the car yet anyway because the doors aren't locking," he explains matter-of-factly, attempting to diffuse the tension. But Josephine's agitation only intensifies. "What are you talking about? It's a brand new car," she protests, her words rapid and accusatory. "Why would it be malfunctioning like this? Why would you even want a car that malfunctions? Is it some sort of charity case?" she challenges, her voice rising with each question. As curious onlookers peer into the car, Josephine's frustration reaches a breaking point. Her tremors escalate, a physical manifestation of her mounting anger and anxiety. "It's short-circuiting, Enrique, and you're making it work," she accuses, her voice edged with frustration. "Maybe you just deserve better." Enrique's own frustration evident in his tone. Despite his attempts to reassure her, Josephine's skepticism remains. With determined effort, she reaches for her wheelchair, struggling to maneuver it into the front seat. Eventually conceding, she opts for her cane instead, though even this simple act proves challenging. As she struggles to exit the car, reluctantly, Enrique steps in to assist, recognizing the need to set aside his pride for her sake. Her determination to assert her independence is palpable. "I'm doing it. I'm an athlete. What's getting out of a car?" she asserts, though her struggle is evident. Despite Josephine's assertion of independence, Enrique's assistance becomes an unavoidable necessity. In the heavenly embrace of a mist-shrouded midnight, the Berliner Fernsehturm stands as a solemn omniscient, its spire reaching skyward in a silent plea to the heavens. Amidst the quiet hum of the city, our focus narrows to an unassuming apartment building, perched above a storefront adorned with closed shutters. Save for a solitary beacon of light, the building slumbers in darkness, a lone witness to the nocturnal serenade of the city. Within the confines of this urban sanctuary lies a bedroom. Here, amidst the soft glow of electronic screens, Enrique sleeps peacefully, but Josephine is busy delving into the depths of her wardrobe like a squirrel frantically diving up his hidden acorns from last spring. Whatever she is in search of is seemingly vitally important. Amidst the fabric and forgotten relics of days gone by, her fingers retrieves the bag, its weight heavy with the promise of liberation. And like a thief, she vanishes into the shadows of the hallway, in the quiet hours that follow, as the city slumbers beneath a blanket of darkness, Enrique, a silent guardian in the night, becomes acutely aware of Josephine's prolonged absence. With measured steps, he approaches the closed door of the bathroom, knocking softly against the barrier that separates them. Behind this veil of privacy, Josephine wrestles with her demons, her struggles hidden from view. Behind the sturdy bathroom door, Josephine's voice, though muffled, carries a faint urgency. Within the confines of this private sanctuary, a scene unfolds, illuminated only by the soft glow of artificial light filtering through frosted glass. Upon the tiled floor, a scattered array of female paraphernalia paints a portrait of vulnerability. Women's underwear, discarded heels, and an incongruous clear bag housing implements of restraint lay in disarray. From beyond the door, within this intimate space, Josephine, with trembling hands and a heavy heart, struggles to get herself together. As a gentle knock reverberates through the door, her voice, tinged with forced composure, seeks to reassure her concerned companion, Enrique. "Just go to the bedroom, I'm coming." Her words, though spoken with practiced ease, portrays a desperate plea. Behind closed doors, the shadow of uncertainty looms large, casting its long shadow over her fragile facade. In a moment of silent resignation, Josephine empties the contents of the clear bag. She exits the confines of the bathroom, leaning heavily on her trusted walking stick, her steps measured and deliberate. In the bedroom beyond, the lighting highlights Enrique's prominent, handsome Mediterranean features as he reclines upon the bed, weary from the trials of the day. As he draws a deep breath and offers a weary smile, the weight of the world rests upon his shoulders, a burden shared but never spoken. Josephine's voice, a mere whisper from behind the partially closed door, pierces the stillness of the room like a subdued command from a distant authority. "Turn off the main light and turn on the bedside light," she directs, her words tinged with a sense of urgency that belies the gravity of the situation. As the room is enveloped in the soft crimson glow of the bedside lamp, its warm hues casting long shadows across the walls, the door creaks open to reveal Josephine's figure shrouded in the dim light. Wrapped in a latex dominatrix outfit, adorned with tattered stockings and an array of buckles, the cold metal of cuffs and the supple leather of a whip, a stark contrast to the warmth of her unsteady hands. She exudes an air of confidence tinged with vulnerability. Yet, despite her bold attire, there is an unmistakable sense of disarray about her appearance. Her lipstick, once a vibrant hue of confidence, now smudged and askew, belt buckles dangle haphazardly, and the zip on her crutch hangs loose, lending an air of absurdity to her otherwise commanding presence. "It's not perfect, but it's the best she begins, her words trailing off as Enrique interjects with a hushed admonition. "Shh! Stay in character, don't ruin it," he urges, his voice a gentle reminder of the delicate balance they must maintain. With a nod of understanding, Josephine relinquishes control, allowing herself to be swept up in the fantasy they have woven together. With a flourish, she releases the metal cuffs into Enrique's eager hands, a silent invitation to indulge in their shared desires. She wields the whip with fierce determination. "What douche! What douche!" she exclaims with a hint of defiance, her voice filled with a mixture of exhilaration and uncertainty. Enrique's laughter echoes through the room, a welcome respite from the tension that hangs in the air. "What douche?" he questions, his amusement evident as he seeks to unravel the mystery of Josephine's enigmatic declaration. With a reassuring nod, she offers a semblance of understanding, her gaze lingering on him with a mixture of longing and apprehension. "So what have I done to deserve all this?" Enrique ventures, his words punctuated by a sense of anticipation that lingers in the air. Josephine, stopping him from sucking her out of the moment by triggering her inner turmoil, offers a cryptic response, her words laden with layers of meaning that elude even her own comprehension. "This is the show. I'm a bad crazy bitch who needs you to take it. Do me with it. Do it with me. I'm it. What I mean is, I'm your dirty nightmare. More of a dream, actually, but more or less a fantasy. Her words trailing off into a wistful sigh, trying to move past the sudden awkwardness caused by that unnecessary confusion. With a determined resolve, Josephine lowers herself to her knees, her movements slow and deliberate as she struggles to maintain her composure. Enrique, caught off guard by her sudden aggression, moves to assist her, only to be met with a fierce refusal. "No, I can do it," Josephine asserts, her voice tinged with a sense of defiance that belies her fragile state. With a resigned sigh, Enrique acquiesces, allowing her to take the lead as she crawls toward him with a sense of purpose. Yet, as she reaches out to him, she seemingly freezes in a visibly uncomfortable position. The tension in the room mounts. They're both slightly suffocating in its intensity. "Joe? Joe, are you okay?" Enrique's voice breaks through the silence, a gentle reminder of the reality that threatens to intrude upon their shared fantasy. As he moves closer, Josephine curls into herself, her body racked with silent sobs that echo through the room. Stiff and shaking violently, the pain is visibly an inordinate amount. Josephine's voice emerges from her throat in a barely audible whisper, carrying with it a weight of sorrow and resignation. "I'm sorry about this. I'm cursed," she confesses, her words tinged with a raw honesty that cuts through the silence like a blade. As she locks eyes with Enrique, her gaze filled with a silent plea for understanding, he shakes his head in quiet despair. She closes her eyes, bracing herself for the inevitable onslaught of pain and suffering that awaits her. Sweat beads form on her brow, the physical toll exacted by her relentless affliction. In a moment of desperation, she retches violently, her body convulsing with each heave as she struggles to expel the toxic contents of her stomach. Beside her, the wheelchair stands in view of her, usually as an ally, but now as a coy authoritarian. Next to it, a modern wooden desk holds an array of medications. With a tenderness born of love and devotion, Enrique retrieves her medication, carefully administering each dose with water as he holds her tightly in his arms. In this moment of shared suffering, they find solace in each other's embrace, a beacon of hope amidst the darkness that threatens to consume them. As they cling to each other, Enrique gazes upwards with a sense of desperation, his eyes searching the heavens for answers that remain elusive. For in this moment, they are alone in their struggle, bound together by the unbreakable bonds of love and companionship. Chapter 3. The living room in Josephine's and Enrique's apartment is bathed in the soft light of morning. The decor is opulent yet understated, a reflection of Josephine's refined taste and elegant sensibilities. Alongside exercise equipment, hang framed photos capturing her athletic endeavors, cycling through landscapes, completing charity races, and striking yoga poses. Among the framed photographs, trophies and medals proudly hang, gleaming reminders of her achievements and victories. Each trophy tells a story of hard work, perseverance, and the thrill of victory. Her first British athletic kit is carefully displayed, a tangible representation of her commitment to representing her country on the international stage. Josephine is sitting on a plush black suede sofa. As the European Championships unfold on the screen, Josephine finds herself drawn into scrolling through a labyrinth of old messages with Kia. Each message and image holds a piece of the past, a testament to moments shared and memories created. Lost in the bittersweet embrace of reminiscence, she lingers over each word and image, savoring the echoes of laughter and the warmth of affection they evoke. Though everyone has extended their support, Josephine's heart aches from Kia's noticeable absence. Despite the sting of this omission, she steadfastly refuses to confront the hurt brewing within her, locking away those vulnerable emotions deep within her soul. Her father's voice note also gives a visceral reaction, but of resentment and anger. She has no intention of responding before the next national election at least. Dr. Gefke, the assigned doctor who has been promising to call her for the last few days, has sent a notification for a scheduled time to give her the results from her blood tests. Josephine notices it was from 3 days before, and the appointment is indeed today, in 30 minutes in fact. Nonchalantly, she keeps scrolling aimlessly. The commentators play up the anticipation of the upcoming women's 200 meters quarters, where Kia Jones is set to represent GB. It adds an electric undercurrent to the atmosphere. Josephine feels a mix of anticipation and a desire to be part of the action. She doesn't watch for Kia's success, but to feel still connected in some way. As the Jamaican and American contenders appear, Josephine's excitement grows, hurling insults like fiery arrows at their perceived inadequacies. To her, they are mere shadows in her legend, ancillary parts in her one-woman show, destined to be eclipsed by her indomitable spirit. As she gets more excited and fiery, her tremors follow. This is a sharp reminder that she has driven far enough down memory lane and returns back to her more familiar stoic nature. As she takes her seat and focuses on her breathing, the TV turns off abruptly. Enrique enters, disrupting the tranquil sanctuary of recollection with the immediacy of the present moment. She glares up at him, first steely, then bemused. She can't help but burst out in laughter as he is dressed in nothing but an apron, with steaming plates of breakfast in hand. He presents it to her with a hopeful smile. Yet, despite his best efforts to lift her spirits, Josephine deliberately performs with withdrawn and distant vibrations, almost to punish him for his idea. As they sit in silence, the sound of Enrique scraping his plate fills the room, a stark reminder of the emptiness that threatens to engulf them both. He resides to turning the TV back on. Kia Jones secures victory in the race, ensuring her advancement to the semi-finals. During the interview, questions about her past incident with a teammate arise, prompting discussions about her career trajectory and her involvement in Josephine's downfall. Enrique notices Josephine's facial twitches and body tremors, but tries to maintain a positive atmosphere. However, Josephine's tremors cause her to drop a sausage while attempting to eat. Despite Enrique's efforts to feed her, she recoils with disdain, losing her appetite instantly. Silence settles between them as Kia navigates the interview, evading questions about her past and instead expressing gratitude for her family's support and attributing her success to a higher power. In a moment of quiet desperation, Josephine rises from her seat, her movements slow and deliberate as she gathers her belongings and prepares to leave. With a sense of resignation, she brushes off Enrique's attempts to intervene, her words laced with bitterness and regret. "I'm fine. Everything is just great. Apart from the eggs, they could be better." As she hobbles out of the room, her departure leaving a void in her wake, Enrique is consumed by a sense of helplessness and frustration. She slams the bathroom door behind her. Her phone clamors for attention, but she swats away its persistent calls like an unwelcome pest, knowing what the sudden commotion is obviously regarding. Within her, emotions rage, each wave crashing against the shores of her psyche with relentless force. Anger flares first, a fiery eruption that threatens to consume her. What did Kia mean? Is she thanking God for what happened to me? She wanted this to happen. That's why she's pretending like I don't exist anymore, letting people lie on me. We were meant to be sisters. She was always jealous. She's a fraud and doesn't deserve to be in the semis, and she knows it. If I was there, wow, everyone wanted me, liked me, respected me. Why is this happening to me? What did I do so wrong that karma should be repaying me like this? I was never going to make it, was I? It was always my destiny to die like this. Dirt on my name and dirt in my bank account. Disgraced and disabled. Yet, as quickly as the fury came, it recedes, leaving behind a barren landscape of apathy in its wake. I will not watch her take my gold medal from me. We'll see what makes the back pages first. With a steely resolve born of necessity, Josephine flings open the medicine cupboard. Despite her trembling limbs, she reaches for the bottles with determination, driven by a sense of urgency. With a mechanical precision born of desperation, she opens bottle after bottle, the sound of pill containers rattling punctuating the silence of the room. In a desperate bid to escape her turmoil, she swallows the pills by the handful, each gulp accompanied by a swallow of water. The bitter taste of medication lingers in her mouth, a harsh reminder of her pain and despair. With the pills consumed, she sinks into an agonizing wait, her heart pounding in her chest as she braces herself for what comes next. The room grows still around her, the weight of her actions hanging heavy in the air as she waits for the darkness to envelop her. The rush of momentum subsides, replaced by a heavy silence that hangs in the air like a shroud. Drawing in deep breaths, she struggles to calm the storm raging within her, closing her eyes in a desperate bid for peace. Outside the door, she hears Enrique's restless pacing. In a desperate bid to conceal her anguish, Josephine hastily turns on the shower, the sound of rushing water masking the tumult within. As she waits, a sudden realization washes over her like a tidal wave, flooding her senses with panic. Frantically, she searches the bathroom for something, anything to quell the rising tide of despair. Finding nothing, she turns to her phone, her fingers hovering over the screen in a futile attempt to reach out to those she loves. But even as she writes, frustration mounts, her words failing to capture the depth of her despair. With a cry of anguish, she hurls the phone across the bathroom. Her phone rings, a persistent drumbeat that echoes, yet she cannot bring herself to answer. And then, a voice breaks through the cracks of the bathroom door, tentative and concerned. It's Enrique, her rock in the storm, offering comfort in the face of her pain. Yet even as she speaks the words, she regrets them. The phone continues to ring. With a heavy heart, she reaches for it, her fingers trembling as she sees the caller ID. Dr. Gefke. Her eyelids descend with the weight of fatigue, each blink slower than the last, as if struggling against the urge to close entirely. Leaning forward slightly, Josephine's movements initially hesitant, but a sudden surge of determination. She straightens herself, steeling her resolve to answer the incessant ringing of the phone. Hello? Her voice, though weak and faltering, carries a hint of resignation as she acknowledges the call. Yeah, this is her words tinged with exhaustion. She returns to the toilet seat. As she listens, Josephine's breathing grows labored, each inhale punctuated with a shallow gasp. Okay. The word slips past her lips, a hollow echo of compliance, as she grapples with the flood of emotions threatening to overwhelm her. But then, a spark of disbelief ignites within her, jolting her from her daze. No, please say you are joking. Are you sure? Her voice trembles with anxiety, her grip on reality slipping as she awaits confirmation. I'm pregnant. With a sudden surge of energy, Josephine rises to her feet, her movements erratic and unsteady. The phone slips from her grasp, crashing to the floor as she stumbles forward, propelled by a force beyond her control. Gasping for air, she fights against the wave of dizziness that threatens to engulf her, each step a battle against the relentless pull of exhaustion. As she makes her way to the sink to try and vomit up the cocktail of painkillers in the pit of her stomach, making its way into her bloodstream. The events unfolds in a symphony of chaos. She loses her balance, grabbing onto a dainty shower curtain, entangling her in its folds as she crashes into the bathtub, her feet protruding awkwardly from the porcelain basin. A slipper lies abandoned on the tiled floor, a silent witness to her descent. The sound of the shower water beating down on her motionless body gives an eerie drumbeat for her last stand. A frantic Enrique, desperately needing assurances. Babe, are you okay? What was that? As he takes matters into his own hands, delivering a swift kick to the door. In an instant, the scene transforms from one of quiet solitude to one of thunderous urgency. Enrique's heart races as he beholds the sight before him, the love of his life, motionless and unresponsive. With trembling hands, he reaches out, pulling her from the bathtub in a desperate attempt to rouse her from her lifeless state. But his efforts are in vain, and the ringing of her phone serves only to compound his anguish and confusion. Dr. Gefke, the caller ID flashes on the screen, a lifeline amidst the chaos. Enrique answers the call, his voice laced with desperation as he pleads for help. Chapter 4. The hospital ward has a sombre, almost melancholic aura, as if time itself moves at a slower pace within its confines. Yet amidst the gloom, there is a sense of hope, of lives being saved and healing taking place, one patient at a time. The ward itself is a maze of beds, each occupied by patients in various states of illness and recovery. Thin curtains provide a semblance of privacy, though their faded blue fabric fails to completely shield the occupants from the prying eyes of passers-by. Hank, an old man, lies on his bed, his once sturdy frame now reduced to a sack of bones piled under a thin white sheet. His skin, weathered and wrinkled, bears the marks of a life well lived. Thin grey hair sticks to his forehead in damp strands. His eyes, once bright and lively, are dulled by constant agony, but still with a mischievous twinkle, as if he's plotting the next great adventure. Despite his frailty, there's a sense of dignity about him. Across from him stand Enrique, Dr. Gefke, and Nurse Ingrid, their expressions a mix of concern and uncertainty. Enrique remarks, "Isn't this extremely rare at her age, to have onset Parkinson's, let alone also being pregnant?" Dr. Gefke nods reassuringly, both knowing this may not be a great thing for her in this condition. Josephine seems lost in her own thoughts, drifting in and out of reality, her gaze fixed on Hank as if drawn to him by an unseen force. Dr. Gefke states, "We had to pump your stomach in order to save your life, and that of your potential child. I need to know while you're here, we won't need to have 24-hour surveillance watching you." Josephine, "Okay, she's a bit tired. Frau Ingrid will look after you. I'll be back a bit later." Before departing, Enrique acknowledges the doctor with a nod, extending his hand in gratitude. He responds in kind. Enrique's attention is drawn to Hank's distressing moans. He turns to the nurse. "Frau Ingrid, does he have Parkinson's too?" he inquires. Hank's wife struggles to feed him, hindered by his condition. Sensing the gravity of the situation, Nurse Ingrid approaches to offer assistance, her presence a source of comfort. As Enrique observes the scene, a wave of empathy washes over him, prompting him to search for his brave face. With determination, he straightens Josephine's position, adjusting her pillow with gentle care. Despite her non-compliance, he remains steadfast, offering silent support in her time of need. The next morning, in the quiet of the hospital ward, Josephine lies in her bed, observes Hank's seemingly peaceful demeanor. A soft voice breaks through the stillness, drawing Josephine's gaze towards Nurse Ingrid. Her presence startles Josephine, who struggles to tear her eyes away from Hank's form. Nurse Ingrid hesitates, her words careful and tentative. "Josephine, can I ask you about something?" she inquires, her tone hesitant yet earnest. Josephine responds with a non-committal sound, her attention divided between Nurse Ingrid's inquiry and her curiosity of Hank. "I know this is not my place and completely off the record. Can I ask? It's only because of your experience. You could help so many kids at our local schools with advice. And now you're with child. You have something to live for. Maybe this all happened to you for a reason." Nurse Ingrid's voice trails off as she attempts to broach a delicate subject. But Josephine's response is sharp, her words laced with bitterness and self-recrimination. "You've got to be kidding, right? Do you think this is funny? Is that what you think?" she interjects before Nurse Ingrid can continue. In a torrent of emotion, Josephine unleashes her inner turmoil, voicing her feelings of inadequacy and despair. "I am the loser with the disease. I'm not 72 with onset Parkinson's. I'm 21. I'm the sinner that has done something so bad to deserve this damning sentence," she exclaims, her voice trembling with raw emotion. Nurse Ingrid attempts to offer reassurance, emphasizing the biological nature of Josephine's condition. But Josephine's anger and frustration remain palpable. "So one thing is a plan from some god, and has a deeper meaning, while the other thing is purely scientific," Josephine retorts bitterly, her words tinged with sarcasm and bitterness. Nurse Ingrid sighs, her heart heavy with the weight of Josephine's pain. "I never said anything about God. It is of course completely up to you. I just feel the need to remind you that there is strength in humility, she offers gently, her words a quiet plea for Josephine to find solace and acceptance. But Josephine is done with the conversation, her attention returning once more to Hank. Nurse Ingrid's disappointment lingers in the air, a reminder of the missed opportunity for connection and understanding. Josephine's hand trembles violently, the erratic movement spreading to her shoulder in an unsettling display of involuntary motion. "You know what's ironic?" she murmurs. "When I would lose a race, my mum would to beat me till I was drifting in and out of consciousness. I would wait for your God to be done with punishing me." She glances down at her twitching hand, a grim realization dawning on her. Now, I know, it was just the beginning. Josephine sinks back into her thoughts, lost in the tumultuous sea of memories. Nurse Ingrid regretfully leaves Josephine knowing she has to find peace before she can help anyone. Later that night, Hank's condition worsens, his suffering evident in the pained expressions of his children and grandchildren. Josephine sits motionless in her wheelchair, her trembling hands clutching the armrests as she stares out of the window into the darkness of the night. The clock on the wall ticks away, marking the passage of time with relentless precision. As the night wanes and the first light of dawn paints the sky with hues of orange and pink, Josephine blinks, slowly emerging from her daze. Glancing over at Hank, she notices a change in his demeanor. Despite his condition, he seems more alert, animated even, as he fumbles with the remote control, eager to indulge in his favorite pastime, watching cartoons. With determined effort, Hank pulls up his bright yellow socks adorned with little cars, his laughter filling the room as he struggles to button up his matching shirt. His movements are clumsy, off balance, but filled with a sense of childlike joy that is infectious. However, as he attempts to pull up his blue trousers, his precarious balance betrays him, sending him tumbling to the floor in a heap. Josephine waves to the nurses, who rush to his aid with a mixture of concern and amusement. Despite the mishap, Hank's laughter echoes through the room, his infectious joviality lifting the spirits of those around him. "It's Saturday, my favorite day," he exclaimed in German, along with fits of laughter as he finally managed to right himself and complete the task at hand. With the assistance of the nurses, he stood on unsteady legs, his hands raised triumphantly as if celebrating a victory. As Nurse Ingrid tied his blue tie adorned with little cars, Hank beamed with pride, his laughter ringing out in unabashed joy. With a final pat on the back from Nurse Ingrid, he settled back into his seat, his laughter mingling with the sound of cartoons playing on the television. Despite his struggles to draw breath, Josephine, sitting nearby, couldn't help but steal glances at him, both bewildered and amused by his unyielding cheerfulness in the face of adversity. Suddenly, Hank glanced in her direction, his eyes meeting hers with a mischievous twinkle. "Why have you got a face like a slapped ass?" he quipped, his tone teasing yet affectionate. Josephine, taken aback by his candidness, paused for a moment before mustering a response. I have Parkinson's disease. I'm broken. And I'm broke. Actually," she confessed, her voice tinged with vulnerability. But Hank seemed unfazed by her revelation, his attention still fixed on the television screen. "Lucky you," he remarked casually, prompting Josephine to turn to him, her confusion evident in her expression. "There are blessings hidden in perceived curses, young lady," Hank continued, his gaze never leaving the TV. "You have the gift of realization, of finite mortality, and life's meaning is in one's own perspicacity." Josephine's mind buzzed with questions, her curiosity piqued by Hank's cryptic words. With a newfound sense of determination, she wheeled herself over to the foot of Hank's bed, eager to delve deeper into his enigmatic wisdom. However, Hank's expression remained stoic, hinting at his reluctance to engage in further conversation. Exclaiming sharply, "Hey Brit, don't get comfortable." Initially embarrassed by his directness, she shifts back slightly, feeling a twinge of offense at his admonition. "We owe it to our loved ones to be strong, To fight, to play along, Hank continues, his voice strained with effort as he imparts his message. Letting them help you gives them divine meaning. With each word, Josephine feels a weight settle in her chest, a reminder of the burdens she carries and the expectations placed upon her. Life is still beautiful, just not on our terms, Hank adds, his breaths growing labored as he speaks. The last gift was for the previous stage. This new God-given gift you have is to equip you for the next stage in life. You're like a hoarder of wounds, collecting unjust and misdeeds with you everywhere you go. Do yourself and your loved ones a favor. This time, don't bring the plastic shield from the past into the future. Make it easier to love you. Josephine is stunned to the depths of her soul. How does he know this? He doesn't know me, what I've gone through to be this strong. Hank's family enters the room, their vibrant attire mirroring his own. Josephine senses the atmosphere shift. Hank's silent insinuation for her to depart doesn't escape her notice. I'm tired of the smell of your plastic armor. Get lost, he mutters. Though she frowns at his dismissal, she summons the last dregs of her energy to comply, yanking his tie into a tight knot before she rolls back to her bed. Chapter 5. Struggling against fatigue, Josephine rises from her wheelchair, determination etched into her expressions as she folds it. It's a Herculean task, but she perseveres, driven by a sense of admiration for the scene unfolding before her. With his family gathering around him, Hank shares tender moments with each of them, their love and support. His wife reknots his tie and tucks in his shirt, who observes the scene with a mixture of longing and awe. All of a sudden, he cannot do anything for himself and needs their help to massage his hands and scalp. Josephine knots her eyebrows, slightly confused at this stark change in behavior. At that precise moment, Hank glances over at her and winks with a cheeky childlike grin. Living the good life, as he sees it. Josephine duly agrees. Then, she is distracted by an advertisement on the TV by the sponsor of the European Championships. Josephine's hand instinctively reaches for her phone. With a quick swipe, she checks the time of the semis of the European Championships, her heart skipping a beat as she sees not only is Kia Jones listed in lane 4, a position of prime importance, but it's in fact the final today. Realizing the days have flown by. In the midst of this emotional outpouring directed towards Kia, Josephine finds herself reflecting on the profound impact her friend has had on her life. Kia's unwavering support and motivation have always propelled Josephine forward, pushing her to strive for greatness. Her fingers dance across the screen as she crafts a message of encouragement to Kia, her emotions pouring out in a torrent of admiration and gratitude, stating that Kia has always embodied the daughter that she always wanted to be, not to mention a dedicated mother. As Josephine reflects on the prospect of becoming a mother herself, a wave of emotion washes over her, stirring up memories of her own mother. The realization hits her like a ton of bricks, but she quickly regains her focus. Back to the task at hand, Josephine, she mutters to herself, pressing send on the message, hoping her words will find a receptive heart. Meanwhile, in the quiet halls of the hospital ward, Enrique's footsteps reverberate with a sense of despondency as he trudges forward, a bouquet clutched tightly in his hand. Beside him walks Josephine's father, his demeanor tense yet resolute, steeling himself for the impending confrontation. As they enter Josephine's room, their expressions shift from gloom to astonishment at the sight before them. There stands Josephine, putting away her wheelchair with a sense of purpose, her movements imbued with a joy and blissfulness reminiscent of Snow White surrounded by forest animals. Spotting them, she greets them with a playful quip. "Is someone going to help me? Or is this a zoo?" Enrique extends the bouquet to her, a gesture of love and support that she receives with gleeful enthusiasm. With each touch and glance exchanged between them, a silent understanding passes, reaffirming the unspoken bond that binds them together. Her father approaches, the tension tangible in the air, but before he can utter a word, Josephine embraces him tightly, their shared embrace a moment of divine solace. As tears fill his eyes, she whispers softly in his ear, "He has spoken, and I have heard," a reassurance that brings a sense of peace to his troubled heart. Leaning on her father for support, Josephine's gaze drifts to the television screen, where Kia is preparing for the final, adorned in a t-shirt bearing the bold proclamation, "There is only one Josephine Kender." The sight leaves her stunned, a mixture of disbelief and pride coursing through her veins. As the commentators reaffirm the support for Josephine and confirm the news of her illness, they discuss the legacy of inspiration she will leave behind. She turns to settle into her bed, exhausted from the whirlwind of emotions, also noticing her father and partner finish tidying up, pouring her water and cutting up fruits. She smiles, placing her hand on her budding womb with optimism for the journey that lies ahead.
Thank you for listening to a Peter Martin Audio Division production, written and produced by PJ Mundy.